Hello there and welcome back to my series on the Caucasus. This episode wraps up my time in Georgia, so let's get straight into it. It was the morning after the cooking class, and I had the leftover kankani for breakfast before checking out of the apartment. I had a bit of time to kill, so wandered around the old town wall, taking in the old Georgian aesthetic that I've come to love, as well as plenty of rugs and a small flower market. After that, I had a quick walk around the shopping centre, took in the Georgian Parliament building, before getting a taxi to the airport. But I wasn't leaving this beautiful country just yet. I was going to discover even more of its beauty. I got my hire car, and off I went. My drive was to take me about 3 hours north of Tbilisi to a town called Stepantsminda in the north, not far from the border with Russia. I did have a stop planned on the way, but first I had to navigate the roads, and all that entailed. Hello? Fucking cows, mate. Absolutely mental. I was almost at that stop when I pulled over to take in some views of the Zhinvani Reservoir, a gorgeous location that, as you'll see, also serves as a backdrop to my planned stop. This was the Ananuri fortress. There's conflicting information about it being medieval or from the 17th century. I think parts of it are newer than others, like with many fortresses and churches, which is what I'm reading into the information. Down at the reservoir itself, you can go on a boat trip, engage in water sports, if that's your thing. I didn't have time either way. It was quite peaceful though, in part due to it not being very busy. But if I had had more time, I'd have taken the time for lunch by the water. Inside the fortress complex itself, you get to fully take in the impressive structures. As well, after a climb to the top of one of them, a fantastic view over the church backdropped by the reservoir. What a view. Ananuri explored, it was time to get back on the road. More cows. This time not impeding my route. Oh yeah, there was one more stop before my final destination. This viewpoint along the Javari Pass. Built by the Russians sometime during the Soviet era, while the viewing area itself was a bit of a concrete blot on the landscape, looking out from it provided spectacular vistas of this valley not far from the town of Gudari, a popular skiing destination. While there was no skiing here, there were lots of people paragliding to get an even better look at the sights on offer. Oh, I forgot to turn black and white mode off after taking a photo. Whoops. This place was definitely more of a tourist trap than a lot of places I've been so far, but I still think it was worth stopping at. And not that I bought anything here anyway, other than paying a small parking charge. It was time for the final leg of my journey north, and not long after, I finally arrived in Stepantsminda, and to my lodgings for the next couple of days. Some view. Alright. Lounge. Ooh, dining area. There. TV. A bathroom. Here's the bedroom, look at this. Wow. Out onto the balcony. There's that view again. Hey, look at this! A bag! Another bag! It finally turned up. Only a week late. Yes, that's right. After Transavia had initially mislaid my bag from Amsterdam to Tbilisi, it had finally arrived 8 days later. I picked it up at the same time I picked up the hire car. New jumper and jacket, courtesy, in the end, of Transavia, I headed out for dinner. To drink I had Georgian lemonade known as Tarkuna or Lagidze water, The traditional flavour is tarragon, which might sound weird, but it was so nice. This dish is scramuli, chicken that's fried then cooked in a garlic sauce, and yet another khachapuri, this time the Kabezgina variety, after the Russian name for the town Kazbegi. I finished off my first night here with a Georgian beer and some YouTube, naturally. The next morning the sun was still rising in the valley when I awoke, providing awesome contrasts of light and shade. Good morning. Wow, still what a view to wake up to. Look at that now. Just gotta get up there. Somehow. You can tell I liked this view a lot. I took many pictures and videos of it. The drive up just provided different angles of this magnificent spectacle. Some leftover khachapuri from last night's dinner was breakfast, and not just for me. This lovely doggo got a small piece too. Just look at that. Take it in. That's what I was doing. After evading the horse poo, I had made my way up to the Gergeti Trinity Church. The sun was shining. Shame about the scaffolding. There's always bloody scaffolding. Sitting on this precipice under Mount Kazbek, this church dates back to the 14th century. You can hike up to it, as many travellers do, or be lazy like me and drive. More breathtaking views overlooking Stepantsminda and Gergeti, an even smaller town almost directly below this point. You can be forgiven for thinking the two are the same place. Inside the church itself I found the now standard Georgian frescoes and the like. Although as you can see, the lack of natural light, at least at this point in time, wasn't helping me see it as well as I'd have liked. More sleepy doggos. Not sure what these were. They looked like massive toasted marshmallows or those Scotch pies you used to find in supermarkets. Done with the church, I went to see what was in the immediate surroundings. A cross, of course, as well as this part of the mountain that jutted out for a different take on the view. I did say I took a lot of video. I wanted to get yet another different version of this view, so I walked back down towards the car, but past it to go up this hill. I could have done with a horse myself. I had to make do with my legs. I could have explored more up here, but there were other things I wanted to see and I wasn't sure how long they were going to take, so down I went. I just had to take it in one more time before commencing the drive down the mountain. I arrived the other side of Stepantsminda, behind where my cottage was, to find a waterfall. And a nice little butterfly. It didn't take long to find the waterfall, but yeah, that appeared to be it. Not much to see, but there wasn't a lot of info about it online, but I thought I'd check it out anyway. Oh well. There was this tiny church nearby, however. No problem with natural light here. A lot more modern, sure, but lovely and vibrant in colour. Also, check out that amazing view through the door. It had been worth the short drive in the end. I'd worked up an appetite after all that, so I headed into the town centre for lunch. Beef maybe? Nope. A chicken kebab and stuffed peppers. I wanted to indulge in some Georgian wine on my balcony, so I picked up this bottle from a local shop. No idea as to the quality of this one, but I enjoyed it. A glass of Georgian red with a stunning Georgian view. Dinner was more low-key this night, staying in with this bean-filled bread, a lobiani maybe, I think. along with some yogurt. Not great image quality here, but the Gageti Trinity Church was lit up all night, like a beacon up on the mountain. You probably can't make that out now, but there's just cows just casually wandering past the front. Sadly, in the morning I was leaving this place. One last chance to look at these mountains before heading back to Tbilisi. Not quite the same spelling. Yeah, I know, I'm a nerd. My drive back took me a bit longer than the way up due to some unnecessary traffic at a tunnel, before stopping about 30 minutes from my next hotel on the outskirts of Tbilisi for some lunch. No catcher here, just puri, a massive piece. I'm pretty sure this was less than £1, maybe even less than 50p. My next stop was the Javari Monastery. I had some of my bread, still lovely and warm, as well as this cream pastry before heading in. I must add though, for balance, I did also have an apple. The Javari Monastery sits atop a mountain overlooking where the Muktvari and Aragvi rivers merge, and is said to have been built sometime in either the late 6th or early 7th century. A different look to the inside of this one, with that stone, almost well-like structure in the middle there. The layout was a change from what I've been seeing both here so far in Georgia and in Armenia the previous week. Also, about halfway up the mountain I stopped to pick up a hitchhiker. You might be thinking, oh hang on, doing that at all, let alone in a foreign country, is pretty dangerous. And yeah, you're right, normally I wouldn't do that, but I could see from the sat-nav that the road I was on only went to the monastery, so there was only one place this guy could be going. And also, I only had about 5 minutes of my drive left, so he wasn't going to be in the car for long. The guy I picked up was an American named Landon, and we got talking, as you do. Like me, he makes videos and writes music amongst other stuff. And if you're interested in checking his stuff, I've popped details to his socials below.
Cool, thank you, man.
Cool, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Cool, have a good one.
Take care. Yeah.
The heavens opened up on this holy place, so it was time to go. Sorry, Pooch, you can't come with. I arrived back in Tbilisi at my final hotel in Georgia. Here we are. My last hotel in Georgia. Look, I've got a balcony as well. Nice. Ah, it's a shared balcony. So cool, though. A quick beer, along with some more of that bread from earlier, before I headed out for the evening. I was staying in a slightly different area to before. This nice looking street of cafes and restaurants was new to me, as was this food court. Lots of options, but I wasn't quite ready for food yet. I headed along the river to the old town area, coming across this floating bar, maybe restaurant thing above the water. Safe to say I wouldn't be doing that. If you saw my first Georgia episode, you'd have seen here before where the sulfur baths are. This time I booked myself a room for later. But first it was back to near where I'd stayed previously for a quick bite to eat. And a cocktail. I'd wanted to visit this bar when I stayed in this area but didn't get the chance. The kind of bric-a-brac, almost antique style to the place was up my street. The first bit of food I had was nigvziani bajriani, rolled aubergine slices stuffed with walnut paste. That was followed by sokoketche, simply mushroom stuffed with cheese. A little bit of live music from this maestro on the piano to round off my dinner, before I headed back to the baths. I'd booked a private room at the Royal Bathhouse. This place only had private rooms to be fair, but others have a mixture of private or public. I just fancied space to myself, especially given this was my last night in Georgia. My room had a private changing area and bathroom. The smell wasn't as eggy as you might think, but my goodness was it hot. But it was supposed to be good for you, a nice, full body cleanse. As is customary, I went into the water with no clothes on. steam. It's like a sauna. The acoustics are pretty cool though. Oh! I had the room for an hour, but after about 35 minutes I was done. It was lovely, but I just couldn't hack that much time in there when it was that warm. And that was it. My final night in Georgia was at an end. The next day I dropped the hire car off at the airport, grabbed a surprisingly expensive Wendy's, then boarded the flight for the next leg of my trip. And off we went. A flight of just over an hour to take me to Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan. Georgia was amazing. Great food, great architecture, great scenery. I mean, come on, those mountains. Hospitality as well, the people were lovely. I mean, I'd highly recommend it to anyone that's thinking about going, or not even thinking about going. Get it in your mind. Go to Georgia. Of course, upon my return, a magnet has been added to the board. As I said, I'd highly recommend Georgia to basically, well, anyone. And if you're flying from the UK, I believe from this summer, so 2025, British Airways are going to start doing direct flights from London. That's all for today, but join me in the next episode as I explore the capital of Azerbaijan. Have a good one, and I'll catch you next time.